Okay.
Hey, I'm Dave Thomas, and I'm just here to show you how to make some Turkish style coffee. It's also called Israeli style or Greek style, or depending on where you're coming from. And basically, it's a triple boil method of brewing coffee using a tight-necked pot. And we just basically start with 4 tablespoons of very finely ground coffee. It needs to be so fine that it'll leave a fingerprint in the grounds. And then you are adding you're adding 8 ounces of water, and this is kind of one of the secrets, is you add a pretty good amount of sugar. And this is a raw sugar, and that is really the best sugar for coffee because it really holds up well. And if you look down in the pot there, you can see it's all just kind of sitting there in a soup. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring it to a froth boil 3 times, and it's kind of goes against all the things that people tell you about not boiling coffee, but this is a very, very old style of making coffee, so we're going to say that it's the right way. So basically, when you're bringing it to the froth boil, you're kind of mixing all those sugars and you're brewing the coffee, but also there is cardamom and rose petal in the blend. So you're brewing all that together, and it really kind of makes this really nice, thick, rich, syrupy brew. If you like espresso, it's very similar to espresso as far as weight. The one thing about it is that you do have a little bit of silt because there's no filtration, so you'll end up feeling a little bit of, you'll want to let it settle in the cup first, but as you can see here, it starts to get this crust, and that crust is going to rise in the pot, and it takes about a couple minutes to heat up the water and then rise to the pot, so I don't know if we want to.
As we wait, tell us, when did you become a coffee guy?
It's been 15 years or so, a little bit more probably. I started as a bartender, and then I kind of really got into the culture of coffee houses. They're similar to bars, but they have a little bit more of an intellectual kind of meeting place. Everybody's kind of throwing ideas against each other, and it's even more so of a community living room than even bars. Everybody can go. It's a real fun atmosphere, and it's part of people's daily routines. It's also one of the most, it's everywhere in the world. People have coffee, come together and drink coffee, and it's a really bonding thing for communities. And then so I got into that. I started brewing coffee and had a coffee shop, and then eventually I decided that I wanted to learn more about it, and that's when I got into roasting coffee, and had 2 cafe, bakery, roastery things before coming to Juneau, and now I have a roastery that I supply coffee shops around town, and also do subscription and things like that. But I really like doing coffee, teaching people about coffee, because it's it's more than just the Mr. Coffee, which we have here. The Mr. Coffee is, your standard. Yeah. Oh, there he is. Hey.
And here he is, Andy Kline, host of Juneau Afternoon.
Yes.
Getting ready for Foodie Friday.
The ship is just going.
All right. Thanks for coming so much.
This is the Turkish style coffee that we were gonna.
So you actually do you bring it to a boil, or do you bring it just under a boil?
It's going to go to boil 3 times.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of goes against all the rules, right? It's like you don't boil the water and all that kind of thing. We're going to bring it to boil 3 times. And it's like, I don't know if you like espresso.
Yes.
It's got that really thick body of espresso. Yeah. So it's a really, and it's one of the oldest forms of brewing.
Oh,
so
it looks delicious.
Yeah.
It smells delicious.
Yeah,
and it looks fantastic.
And there's cardamom and rose petal ground into the beans.
Okay,
so
cool.
It kind of just has this like really effervescent feel to it, and a little bit of sugar.
All right, that's fine too.
Yeah.
That's fine. A little decadence.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. All right. Well, that's happening coming up in just a minute. I'm going to go and
Alright.
make a couple transitions in the studio.
Maybe
We'll
you
be right
can
back.
have some, here, take your
Oh.
Ethiopian
Thank you.
coffee
Yes.
that's brewed in a regular pot.
Oh, the best part of waking up.
It's Ethiopian in your cup.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is delicious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really
Thank
good.
you.
It's a
Wow.
really good Napoleon brewing method where it sucks it up into the top and then draws down.
I've seen that before, but it's always kind of magical when it,
It
happens.
looks like
It's-
magic.
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
it?
really
Thermodynamics is magic.
Very cool. All
By the
right.
way, Andy, we're going to throw this video on the web, so it'll be available after the interview.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah. How are we doing here?
We're doing. It's coming along here. It's fast when it starts.
So, imagine, if you will, life without coffee.
It would be a pretty sedate life. I think coffee it just enlivens life a lot. There's obviously you don't have to drink coffee. There's tea as well. I think of coffee kind of in the same realm as tea or herbs or whatever you drink as your ritual in the day. I think of it as just another ingredient. A lot of people put it on this pedestal, but it's another ingredient that you use to have this kind of this centering moment in your life. You can just sit there and drink it, especially with Turkish. Turkish is definitely a mulling kind of brew. It's almost like the brandy of coffees. You just kind of like want to sip it and enjoy. And it's definitely. I think it really kind of creates a pattern to your life. A lot of people, it's what they start their day with, and it's what kind of gets them to feel like they've started their day for real. And it's also, like I said, coffee houses are where I really felt like it started. Is just people stop in their coffee shop. It's very routine oriented. People like coming and saying hi to the people that they know and everything. And it could be your matcha latte or your whatever, but coffee is definitely, it's the second most traded commodity in the world, so it's definitely one of the top things people use. Okay, so this is the beginning of the first boil. You can see the froth starting to come up. That is actually the emulsified oils of the coffee. The oils, it's very similar to espresso where you're taking the oils and they're just becoming part of the brew as it foams. The whole point of this is to not overboil it because you want to retain those oils on the surface. Kind of makes this really nice, thick taste on the top. And if you break the oil, it definitely has less of that mouthfeel. So as you see, it just kind of starts to froth up here, and it's right there. So now it's going to rise to the surface, and that's really what you're looking for, is it to start to rise, and that's why they have this tight neck, because they want it to foam. And obviously when you boil water, it doesn't foam like this. And these are all the emulsified oils kind of glomming together. And then, if you want to see this here, so this is the first boil. It happens fast once it happens here.
And are you waiting for it to really kind of?
I'm really waiting for it to really
yeah.
bubble up, and then it's like 2 seconds.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Yeah.
There it is.
There it goes.
Yeah. And so when you have,
The viscosity in it.
and
really
usually,
kinda,
yeah, usually when you have these brewing type of things, they'll have a flame underneath. But I was told flames and radio stations are not friendly.
Pretty hard to explain afterwards. But we were making a great cup of coffee.
And so we go down the second time. It's more froth. The grounds are settling down, and this is all the oils coming to the surface. So we're lowering that down again, and then third time.
Really comes up fast.
And then now, it's really, you're just trying to let it really brew, and then that is off. Stop fire hazards, and we just pour it off. And the reason that this is necked like this is because the grounds are settling down the bottom, and you can pour off the top. And we're going to let it, even when we go in there, we're going to let it settle a minute.
Okay.
Because this is non-filtered, straight from the straight from the pot.
All right, guys,
Awesome.
we better get you on the air.
All right, let's go.
This is
Let's go.
great.
Take it in there. I'll take mine. This is a treat.
On to Juneau Afternoon, Foodie Friday. Have fun, guys.
Thank you.